Here I am. Oh my goodness. Am I a sweaty Betty or what? Oh, good morning, folks. Okay, 7:02. Yeah, I went a little bit over. People are not perfect. I'm not perfect, but you know what is that? I feel like if I had a minute, maybe I can do this while people are still on here. Let me every on thanks. Oh, it's Big Bird. I love it. I love it. I was talking with somebody and talking about making mistakes. And making mistakes is something that we do all the time as humans. And I was thinking, because this is how my brain goes. My brain um, works in metaphor. This is like this. Decluttering is like a road trip. My brain works in music. So whenever I hear a string of words together, um, my musical brain tends to put it to song. Now the funny thing is that like my husband, who's a songwriter, he creates songs. He creates the songs. My brain works with hearing things that already exist. I'm cool with that. I've learned that myself. And I was talking to a client recently about making mistakes, and I said, everyone makes mistakes. Why can't you? And I said, I think that's a Mr. Rogers song. It's not Mr. Rogers. It's not Mr. Rogers, but it is Big Bird. It is Big Bird. Um, Everyone makes mistakes. Why can't you? And look at that. Big Bird from the 1970s. Maybe it was even 69. Probably the early 70s. We were teaching ourselves back in the day. It's okay to make mistakes. It's going to happen. Nobody's perfect. The only thing that's perfect, and it isn't really, is technology. And technology, even that screws up a lot. So I offer this to you as a musical moment. Is everyone makes mistakes. Why can't you? Yeah. Um, Too funny. Too funny. So good morning, everybody. Do you notice I have a little bit of a burr, a Raymond Burr, a tickle in my throat? Yeah, I actually have a cold, and I'm feeling better, though I just got totally, I don't know if it's a hot flash or a fever or both. So if I look extra shiny today, um, it's because I'm not feeling 100%, but I will share with you that having this TikTok live and having my clients and giving myself a reason to get up out of bed is making me feel better. If anything, even it's just draining the lymphatic drainage of the power of gravity, you know. So good morning, y'all. Uh, I'm here. My name is Beth. In case we haven't met yet, I only see about a handful of people here. My name is Beth. I am a decluttering life coach, and my coaching is called Destination Decluttered. Now, it's kind of funny because I went to kind of a coaching seminar type thing a couple of weeks ago in Las Vegas, and I realized that not a lot of people have, like, there would be like their name and like just whatever their coaching expertise was. Now, I like to call my good morning, Julie Rose from California. You're up early. I like to call my coaching something specific because this gives me kind of an anchor, kind of a pinpoint on a map to aim for when I get distracted and I get all over the place. Because when I'm working with clients, I get into some really cool conversations. Um, I love understanding, as I like to say, the stuff behind the stuff. And then saying, okay, here's the stuff that got me here. But then instead of just kind of looking backwards and whatever, I love to then say, okay, noted, let's kind of process that. Let's notice where the things show up from the back. But let's make a plan. Let's not just be like, okay, this is where I am now because of what happened in the future, but then saying, where do I want to go? How do I want to feel? What are the things I want to happen in my life? What do I want to be looking at? And mainly, to me, it always comes back to how I want to feel. So that's why I call my coaching Destination Decluttered, is I think of it as planning a trip. What a long, strange trip it's been. Is that the Grateful Dead? I'm not a deadhead, but I am friends with some. But you know what? Your whole life is this long road trip between birth and death. Now, if I look at that as kind of an arc, I am closer to death than I am to the birth, because I'm just doing math. And if I'm going to be 58 literally next week, I am most likely not going to live to 117. And even if I did, I think my quality of life is going to decline in the next number of decades. So I show up in my 50s to you, and however old you are, this is fine, to encourage you to wherever you are on that spectrum between birth and death. And I know I'm getting deep and it's only 7 o'clock in the morning. Okay, Julie Rose, right, there we go. Regardless of where you are on the spectrum, is of between birth and death, is if you're not digging what's going on in your life, clutter wise, even just clutter wise, is you can do something about it. Now, the way I do this, and thank you for the happy early birthday. Strangely enough, I will be in California for my birthday because I will feel better from this cold, is you can do something about it. You can do something. This is my MO. I used to think, nope, can't do anything. This is just how it is. They call it in the biz, they call it a fixed mindset. To be like, this is how it is. It doesn't change. I like a change mindset. I like a flexible mindset because boy, if I had believed the things that I had been taught to believe when I grew up about how things were and how things were supposed to be, I would not be living a life that I freaking love. In a house that is decluttered, in a house that is easy to maintain, in a world where I have friends and family and adventures and all sorts of things. So I show up in your life, and I hate this. You know what irks me? I will tell you what irks me is people who record TikTok videos who say, hey, if I showed up on your FYP, there's a reason for it. The universe. I call kind of, I don't know. I think that's insincere. And I, being a Gen Xer, I am so sensitive to inauthenticity. But I will tell you this. I show up live, and I do TikTok videos. Maybe you're hanging out here, pardon me, because you're in a cluttered situation. You've got too much stuff in your house and stuff that you don't like. I'm going to see if I can get this out of my throat, excuse me. Oh, funny. This is funny. It reminds me of back in the day. And Brenda Vaccaro, do you remember? She was an actress at some point, and she did a commercial in the 80s, and she had a very kind of rough, husky voice, Brenda Vaccaro, and that actually sounded more like Lauren Bacall, but she had one of those voices, and it was like Brenda Vaccaro for Playtex tampons. Okay. Right now, I feel like I've got my Brenda Vaccaro voice on. But I'm gonna work through it. This is live TV. This is not Memorex, people. If it were something that wasn't recorded, I would totally stop it and go do something else. But I'm gonna work through it because I'm here for you. And see, already I'm feeling a little bit better. I will totally be taking some Mucinex momentarily. But in the meantime, when I feel better, I can also focus better. So now that I'm not focusing on the little rough part of my chest, yes, take a quick break if you need to. Yes, thank you, that one person. I appreciate that. Yeah. I do try to be here for my people. I've taken a deep breath. I've taken a sip of tea. We can all benefit from, maybe you don't drink tea, but a deep breath, work through the issues, and feeling better. So I show up in your life right now. And maybe you're hanging out here because you're like, hey, yeah, I get a clutter thing. She's a decluttering life coach. What does she have to offer? What I want to offer you is encouragement. Have some courage. You can do this. I want to also share with you, honestly, because I've been through this journey. Sure, I've got a little bit of stuff left in the basement. It's not a big deal for me, and it doesn't bug me. It kind of does, but not enough to really irritate me. Decluttering is not as difficult as your brain may be telling you. Decluttering is a process. Decluttering is a order of operations. The decluttering is something that you just maybe haven't been taught before, okay? You maybe just don't know a process of how to declutter and have it be. I used to work in process management, I was a process engineer, which is so weird to me because I was an art history major. So man, talk about being on a spectrum between what you've done in your life. Now I'm Gen X, so I have all sorts of illustrious careers in my past, but noticing where there are patterns in things. And I love this. Annoying ASMR says, you're definitely helping me. My husband has been listening also, and our place is looking good. Awesome, you guys. Yeah, I've coached, and I know we're not in a coaching relationship. I've coached couples before, because when you're living with somebody else, you both have your own thoughts and feelings about clutter. How much is clutter? How much you can live with? I know that when I was away at my thing in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, my husband was at the house, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I had to run around and clean up after you were, before you came up, because when he's home alone, it's a different level of clutter." Now, when I'm home alone and he's like off at a gig or something like that, I might slack off on things myself. But noticing where things are making you not feel good clutter-wise, and reminding yourself you can do something about what bugs you, that is power right there. Not just taking it the way things are and being like, oh, well, I guess this is just how it is, but saying, no, stop, hammer time. I'm going to do something here to change what I don't like. Now, I love this kind of motif in the most global sense, in the most national, like for anywhere from above to right down here, is starting with what's important for you. Now, this is a really interesting thing that I've noticed, and maybe you'll think of it yourself, is not being used to asking yourself what you want. What do you want your home to look like? How do you want your home to function? And then the most important question for me, which I don't know if I could have answered this a few years ago, is how do you want to feel when you're in your home? Now, those three questions, how does it look, how does it function, and how do you want to feel? When you write down your answers to that, first of all, they're your answers. They're not my answers. I don't care what your home looks like. When you get clued into what your destination is, when I want it to look like this, I want it to function like this, which to me is always wicked easy because it's just easy in my mind. I want it to function. I want it to be easy. I want to live in a house that's easy to live in. And then how do I want to feel in my house? When I write down those things, I now have something to aim for. That's a destination. If you don't know where you're aiming, how can you point your arrow? How can you drive your car if you don't know where you're going? You can do this. You can do all sorts of things, but having a place of focus, kind of like the North Star. If you're, I'm thinking of, that's what it's all about, Charlie Brown, and lo, the angel of the Lord said, fear not, for on this day we bring you tidings of great joy. That's like my really quick Linus, but the North Star, giving you something to aim for. Saying this is going to help me focus my path to be more direct so I get to where I want to sooner. Yeah, that one persona, chronic people pleaser here, raising hands, people pleasing, external. You know what? We're going to flip it. People pleasing, internal. Let's start to please this person. Because you know what? I remember, I used to do road trips, and I used to go to these wacky old gift shops with I'm thinking of particularly Route 30 out in Lancaster County, PA. There used to be Jacob Zooks. It's not there anymore, but they used to do those hex signs, and it was in an A-frame house, and they would have those little black trivets that had the white letters on them that would have wacky sayings. And I swear to God I saw this, but I've seen this quote. It's like, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So notice that the flip side of that is when you're happy, other people will be happy too, but you come first. When you make other people happy, but you deny yourself, that's not sustainable. That's when burnout happens. That's when things will come to a head. So I like to start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. ABC, 1, 2, 3, do, re, mi. Now I'm going to burst out into song, and next thing you know, it's The Hills Are Alive with the Sound of Music. But starting at the very beginning of what you want. Boop, you. And believing you are worthy to get it, to make it happen. Now, trust me, I like it when things are done for me, but I know how good it feels when I do things for myself. There's a balance there. Would I like to make a lot of money on my coaching? Yes. Do I? Yes, I love it. Would I also love to win the lottery? Sure, why not? But I'm not waiting for things to happen externally. I'm starting internally, and making things happen that I want to happen. And when you do it in a way that feels fun, you enjoy the process. You can enjoy decluttering your home. Yes, and I love that. Yes, this one thing that one persona says. I think of that plane and oxygen mask metaphor. You got to help yourself before you can help others. Completely. Completely. I believe that one too. And I think that's so important that you can't give from an this was a really cool thing too. I saw somebody on TikTok, they made a really good point. You can't pour from an empty cup, but you don't even need to pour it all. You can keep all your cup for yourself. So it depends on your life, but I say nothing's wrong with you saying, hey, wait a minute. I'm not digging how my home is clutter-wise, and I want it to change. I don't want it to be like this anymore. So what can I do? I'm doing all the things I know I can. How's this? You are doing all the things you know how to do to keep your home decluttered. You have a process of decluttering. You have a time in which you do it, a reason when you do it, how often you do it, how you do it. You have systems and processes in your house already that gets your house the way you want to. See, G. Schnauzer, doesn't that take the pressure off? 365-day return. Yes. See, when you can do something, you just did something to calm down the backseat drivers. But what if, and I don't even, shh, as that wonderful woman on TikTok says, shut the fuck up, to your backseat drivers. And then you say, you know what, I don't know when the return thing is. I'm going to go find out the information. And info that's measurable, it's a number. I love it, lady, and I love that you looked that up right now. So rock on, you are doing good stuff. That now takes the pressure off. You don't need to return anything until you know you get one. Okay? So rock on, and thank you for telling me that. I am totally high-fiving you for looking that up. All right? Yay. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So Sharon is asking. I totally derailed my thought, but you know what? I riff. I'm like a jazz cat. I can go from this point and this point, but I'm always going to come back to the root note, which is how can I help you get your life the way you want? So Sharon Thompson is asking, how do you let go of things you don't need? Like this. Now, I say that as a bit of a joke, but it can be easy. What I want you to notice is that you are holding on to a thought. That thought you have that's causing you to hold on to things that you say you don't need. So Sharon, you don't have to answer in the comments, but everybody, if you have something in your home that you kind of know, this is where the knowing happens. Like, I know I don't need this. But right here, the feeling part of you, this is the decision maker. It's so true. Because if you know you don't need it, but you're hanging on to it, it's because something in your heart, your nervous system, a story that you have in your head is causing you to feel a feeling. A feeling of, I don't know, I'm going to get in trouble if I donate this item. I am, a bad person I bought the wrong stuff. I am not lovable if I make a mistake. Whatever the thoughts are. So, what have you got in your house that you know you don't need that you could let go of? I mean, physically, literally you could, but there's something that's stopping you from easily donating it. That something to me is a feeling. This is how I coach. And the feeling starts with a story in your head. Now, the cool thing is that you know that. You can kind of back it up. You kind of reverse engineer this to say, if I'm feeling this way for thinking this way, how would I rather feel? And what's it going to take? What do I do? What do I think instead? Now, I always like to make this really simple because when I was going through and trying to find self-help and coaching, a lot of times people made it much too difficult. I like to think of the opposite. So if I am telling myself this story, if I don't want to feel this way, I want to feel the opposite of this way. So I will even just start as a basis for what would be rewriting that story in the opposite, So, okay. Paperwork is my issue. Sin from Lynn. It's so funny. I'm from Boston, so I'm like, oh, Lynn, the city of sin. You never go out the way you came in. That's totally a mass thing. Paperwork is my issue. Okay, notice, everybody. Maybe I'll just riff on that. You have a story in your head that keeps you hanging on to paperwork. When you get clear on what your stories are, then that's a point with which you can make some strategic differences. You know? There we go, that one persona. Yeah, flip it and reverse it. Completely. Missy Elliott, right? Yes, flip it and reverse it. You're a 90s kid. I'm like an 80s, 70s kid. And so I think often, because I also was a Monkees fan, of the time that Davy Jones was on the Brady Bunch. And he gave, I can't remember, was it, it's like, oh, how about the flip side? Davy Jones and Marsha Brady on the couch. Oh, okay, there you go, Sin from Lynn. There you go. I had one of the best diner breakfasts of my life in Lynn, Massachusetts, at the Capitol Diner. So good. Hash and eggs, chickens in the yard. Loved it. So notice the stories that you have in your head and your heart that run your life. Notice those things. When you start to stop and, as they say in Buddhism, become the observer. Now I say that just kind of in a slightly mocking way, because I don't take things too seriously until it's time to take them seriously. But I show up in lightness and love, because this is something to just get curious about. When you can kind of step outside of yourself and say, wow, I tell myself stories all day. I tell myself stories of when I rock, of when I suck, and all in between, And when I tell myself stories that make me feel bad, I end up feeling bad. I don't want to feel bad. So how can I stop that and flip it and reverse it? What is even just the reversal of it? Sin from Lynn. You have a story that keeps you probably doing things with paperwork. Not organizing it, keeping it for too long, even keeping paperwork coming into your house. Now to me, that's like a stored clutter type thing. Like I talked earlier, maybe I didn't, because I talk about clutter all the time. You've got surface clutter, you've got stored clutter, you've got sentimental clutter. So to me, paperwork is on the surface, typically. It's on your bed, it's on your desk, it's on your table, it's on your counter, it's on a surface. But then it's also more of a storage thing. Like why do I keep so much of my paperwork? How much of it do I need to keep? How long do I need to keep it? Do I need this at all? But Katie says right below you, it's always sentimental value that I can't get rid of. Right. Sentimental value is when it's a direct thing of I'm keeping this not because of what it is, but because of the story I attach to it. This could be a mug, or this could be the mug that David Bowie gave me. It isn't, obviously. But we imbue things with meaning. It's not just a mug that came off of a conveyor belt in China. No, it's the mug that was the last thing that my dad gave me for my birthday before he passed. It is the mug that my ex-husband gave me, and I don't like him anymore, so it makes me feel this way. We tell ourselves stories to make sense of the world. And when you realize that, and you realize that you are writing your own book, you can change your stories at any time if you want to feel differently. Okay? But just notice, surface, stored, sentimental. It's like the shallow end of the pool, the place where you do the laps, and the deep end. I totally get it about sentimental value, but notice that if there is a quantity and quality type thing. Notice that there can be a difference between keeping the story and keeping the item. Okay? Yeah, I love it. Dorothy, even holding on to things, held on to a house phone number for the longest time, even though I only use my cell. Yeah, that can be a thing. I remember back in the day, to this day, I can remember the phone numbers for my best friends from like junior high school. Yet my sisters and my mother have phone numbers in their cell phones that they've used for 20 plus years. I don't remember those. But we have attachments to numbers. We have attachments to things, So notice this, So, hey, good morning, Swanee700. Nice to see you. Hope your summer's going well. There we go. Cat Mama, keeping my Blue Princess phone. Yeah, notice the things we have. This reminds me. This is the thing I always wanted to get as a kid and I never did. This is the thing, we have stories. I can remember my family phone number from first grade and I am 61. Yeah. I can remember my number because my mother still lives in the same house with the same phone number. She never uses the phone though. Actually, she keeps it because it was cheaper to get a bundle. But it would be. We all know the phone number like nobody's business. But notice that we can hold on to things and we can let them go. Being in control of what you hold on to and being in control of what you let go is being in control, is having power in your life. And I want to give you 100% control over what goes on in your life by making decisions that align with who you are and who you want to be. You have elements of your life right now that are giving you the life you want. There's stuff about you that rocks. Keep on doing that stuff. But to get back to an earlier point that I was making is you are doing the best you can with the skills you have, with the knowledge you have of how to get decluttered, with the history you have, with the way you were brought up, with the stories you have of what it means to live in a cluttered house or not live in a cluttered house, what it means to have somebody in your house who does these things for you or tells you to do it on your own, and all these things in between. You are doing the best you can with what you have. That is awesome. But if that amount of information is only taking you so far, I just want you to know that there is help out there, that there are more things you can learn to do things differently. I think of this as going from not knowing how to drive a car to driving a car and maybe only learning how to drive in an automatic transmission. Now, this is definitely going to be resonant more for my older folks, myself included, than the younger folks, because I've heard that nobody drives a stick shift anymore. But knowing that you can expand your world to learn how to drive a stick shift. You currently don't know how to do it. You know how to do certain things, but if you go to, like, let's say, Europe, and they don't have any automatic cars, or it costs you hundreds of dollars more, you just expand your world by learning new skills. And decluttering is a skill. It is. It's a life skill. Decluttering is a way of doing things, a way of keeping the quantity and quality of items in your house aligned with what you want. That the things you keep in your house, to me, is that you look at it and it tells you a good story. That you go to use it if it's a item that's usable, like a pen or a paper clip, or I'm just looking around here. And you go to use it and it works well. That you have pens that write nicely. You have knives that cut sharply. You have scissors that also cut sharply. I don't know why. You have dish towels that absorb the water. You have clothing that fits on your body, that feels comfortable and looks good. The functionality of your items is good. Excuse me. And then the quantity of items you have. That you don't have a bunch of crappy pens that you stole from the bank, or you got one for free from the car guy, or you got that one from school, or you don't even know how you got it. But the quantity you have is right so that when you go to put things away, they easily fit in their homes, in their containers. And that anytime you go to grab one of those items, be it a t-shirt or a pair of underpants or a coffee mug or, some food in the fridge, that when you go to grab it, it's easy to pick out something that works well for you. Okay? This is how I coach. This is what I love to get into, is to think of decluttering from maybe a different perspective than anybody else. This is my perspective. Decluttering improves your life. And not just on the superficial, now it looks better to other people. That's kind of a byproduct. But I want it to look good for you. I want it to function well for you. And I want it to feel good for you in your home. So if your home kind of doesn't is not getting a green light on each one of those things, the looking good, the functioning good, well, the feeling good, if you're not at a green light and all those three kind of traffic lights, maybe what I do can help you. It can probably, because I am now green light on all those things. It wasn't always this way, though. I share that because I never want to be seen as a person who kind of goes like kind of that top-down thing. Sermon on the Mount. This is how I do it. I'm great. You guys suck. No, I'm on a journey just like you guys are. I grew up in a cluttered house. I have ADHD in my family. My parents didn't come from a lot of money, so they saved a lot more stuff. I am different from my parents. And while I have no children, I have nieces and nephews that I also don't want to inherit some of these ways of thinking and then acting that I have found in my life to be not helpful to get me, you know? Oh, thank you for saying I have an amazing perspective. I just like to make things really clear. Because clarity, clarity just makes things so simple and easy. This was one of the things I found out when I was beginning kind of my journey to get my own shit together. Is there were people out there using a lot of fancy words that I had to kind of, when you used to do like, what do you call it? Fractions, and you would lowest common denominator, like, you know what I mean? You would reduce them down to the bare essence. And I would hear all these highfalutin words. Now, trust me, I went to college. I can highfalutin like nobody's business. But there is power in being able to take something that sounds complex and making it simple. It may seem like, oh, well, nobody, whatever. I don't know why they do it. But to me, simplicity is the keynote to elegance. My great aunt Aga, no, actually Aga would say it, but Mimi would say it too, because she worked at Peck and Peck. Simplicity allows you to go directly to the source. Oh, thank you. I am feeling a bit better this morning, but I still got some stuff going on here, but I'm showing up. Decluttering, I just feel like I'm always going back to the root note of decluttering is a life skill, and it's a skill worth learning because it's going to make your life feel better. It's going to look better, yes. It's going to function better, yes. But the main thing is for you to feel better about what you're surrounded by, about the stuff that is in your home, and seriously, about the next generations. Like, what are they going to do with your stuff? All right, Sharon Thompson's got to go to work. Totally get it. I show up and do these TikTok lives. I say every so often. I show up more often than you might think. But if you are on my mailing list, you know that because I sent you the schedule for this week. Now, next week, I am traveling. I'm doing a wicked lot of traveling. I am doing very organic kind of responding to interesting things kind of travel. So the next month or so, I've got like 3 different trips. Is it 3? I can't remember. I got to look at my calendar. But I say that because if you want to know when I do my TikTok live, so you can kind of set your timer and show up so you can start at the very beginning. I always start them at top of the hour. But if you want to increase the likelihood of knowing when I'm doing a TikTok live, get on my mailing list, destinationdecluttered.com. Just scroll down to the bottom of the homepage. There's a place you can put your email address in. It's free. There we go. You're helping me stay calm before a doctor's appointment. That's good. Cat mama, nothing's going to go wrong. I love the fact that you're going to the doctor. I love the fact that you're getting help you're addressing a concern. I love the fact that you're maintaining your health. All of those baby steps you can do to make sure that the health you have, the life you have on this planet, feels the best it can. Gail Danish is asking, I have all my 401k statements for 20 years. Can I throw any of them away? Yes. Think about this, okay? Perspective and simplicity. Think about this. 20 years ago, I'm almost afraid to know what year that was. That was 2004. Holy Moses. I want to say it was 1980, but that's just me. A statement. A statement is a paper-based concept from prior to the internet of saying at the end of each month or whenever, this is how much your 401k was worth. Really, to be honest with you, the only relevant number is what your 401k is worth right now. Doesn't matter what it was worth last year, the year before, 20 years, whatever. It doesn't really matter what it used to be worth. What matters is what it's worth now. So Gail, notice that you, like many of us, maybe grew up and maybe kind of were taught habits of saving things in a pre-digital era. Maybe you were taught from people who said, I don't trust the government. I'm going to make sure that I have the paper trail that if they try to tell me that I don't have that amount of stock in my 401k, that I could show them from last month. I had that kind. So noticing, you guys, it's all about the stopping. Even noticing when I coach like this, I don't even notice that I put my hand up. And I'm like, stop. Little traffic cop hand, little stop in the name of love action. Diana Ross, stop and notice. Pull your car over to the side of the road and just say, wait, why am I doing what I'm doing? Pull over and say, why am I doing this? Why am I saving these 401ks? Statements. Well, because I was told I was supposed to save them. Okay, well, when's the last time I looked at them? Well, like never. Okay. Well, can I let them go? What's the worst that could happen if you let them go? Well, then I don't know how much is in my 401k. Okay. Could I find out that information some other way? Yeah, I could probably call my 401k people or go onto their website. You know? Just notice the habits you have of thinking and acting that cause you to have clutter in your house. Okay, yep. There we go. That's my thinking for sure. Yeah, many of us grew up in a pre-digital era. Now we live in a hybrid era. Now we are Gen Xers, so we are very flexible. We are the ones that are teaching the older folks, I don't know what to do with this. I've got my Cricket phone. No, we are the cool people. All right? We are the flexible. We are the game changers. So we're going to notice where we were brought up that way, but then we're going to stop and we're going to question that shit. And then we're going to do something different if where that's leading us is not where we want to go. Okay? So just notice those things, you guys. Question authority. Weren't you an anarchist in high school? I mean, I was kind of anarchy adjacent. I was more new wave than punk rock. But seriously, just question it. It doesn't mean that you're going to say no to it offhand, like without thinking. That's bullshit, but question it. And to see if what you're doing is making sense to who you are and how you live now. And if the answer is yes, keep on doing it. If what you're doing is getting you the life you want, keep on doing that stuff. But notice when it isn't, and notice you can change the things. You can right now go and shred or burn or throw away 20 years worth of 401k statements. Maybe it makes you feel safer to keep a year's worth. I don't know. And then you can keep a year's worth, and then next year you keep that year, and then you do it, you change your habits. So notice those things, people, and it's okay. It's necessary to change. Change is evolution. We are not men, we are Devo. We do not want to devolve. We do not want to go back. We do not want to devolve. We want to move forward and evolve as species do, as cultures do. But you've got to fight the inertia. You've got to find ways to move forward and to move forward. And it all starts with the individual. It starts with you and me saying, I don't like how these things are and I'm going to change it. Swanee is saying, I've been realizing what chapters of my life are over. Yeah. And it helps me get rid of things. For example, my hockey mom era is over. So I have given away a lot of stuff I had, like blankets and hoodies, etc. Seriously. Yeah, I remember thinking, I saw somebody on TikTok, somebody tagged me on this. The mom who had all like the baseball Cincinnati Reds, I don't know, I totally don't speak sports, but had a lot of these t-shirts, and she went and she threw them up to people in the bleachers. Yeah, there are certain chapters of my life that are no longer, they're over. You can think of the decades of your life. You can think of the chapters of your life. You can think of clothing you grew out of, hairstyles you grew out of. You've grown. You grow. If you don't grow, you die. We're all going to die anyway, but don't you want to be the most awesome, blooming, wonderful you before you go on your deathbed? And if you do, you can change it. If you don't, I don't know. I am here. I will always be here to encourage you. Maybe now you're like, oh, I don't know. But you know what? I will be here to remind you that you can change and you're worth changing what you don't like. Okay, now I do have mutual fund statements because I had an issue before when I cashed in. Okay, so Sin has a story. Sin has a story as to why she keeps the stuff she keeps. Now, that's a good reason. Maybe you should keep a year's worth or something. But notice when what you're doing is not giving you what you want. How many decades back do you need to go? I tend to notice this too, and I just want to share this as a concept, is trust versus fear, or love and fear. To me, love and fear are the kind of two sides of the flip side. Fear. The fear of, what if I go to cash in my mutual funds And I don't have proof that I have as much. So fear keeps me holding on to things. Now, I'll be honest with you. I haven't had issues like that, so I tend to trust that if I need to go find that information about what's going on, I can easily log on to Morgan Stanley and go to previous statements, and that info is going to be accurate. Therefore, I have gone totally digital because I don't keep the monthly or the quarterly statements. Now, that's me. I tend to find that I live a lot quieter in my brain and quieter as far as the quantity of stuff in my house when I hang out on the side of love, trust, encouragement, letting go, trusting that everything's going to work out. So just notice where fear is showing up and fear and how that works out, yeah. And also when love and trust, it's always good to have some backup. Bank lost one of my sister's accounts after she died. Thankfully, she or they or you were on top of it. Yeah, noticing what you save. Now, here's the difference, too, because I still save papers. I also save papers for a certain amount of time. I am also on top of things as far as my accounts. I interact with my things. I just don't kind of save things and figure it out later, Yeah, I love it. Annoying ASMR says, love makes me grow. Took me forever to figure that out. Hey, you know what? Better late than never. Better late than never. Seriously. It took you a while, but just think, if you now know that, love makes me grow, you now know that from now until the rest of your life. And it's just where it's at. I don't mean to sound like a hippie from the 60s, but seriously, think about this. This is where I want to riff to. Fear keeps you pulling away from people. Fear keeps the species. The species will die if you don't have love. Love makes you want to have babies with people, right? Am I right? I don't have kids. I have love in my life. It still doesn't, but love makes the world grow. Fear and intimidation makes it wither and die. Fear shrinks and paralyzes. Yeah. When you're shrinking back and stuck, you're not open and moving forward. And you get to choose it. If your habit is to think and feel like you're stuck and paralyzed, and you don't realize, you don't think you have an option, then you're going to be like, this is just how it is. No. Let me tell you, there is another side out there. There's a whole nother side where you don't have to feel paralyzed, where you can feel safe and you can be relaxed, where you can trust yourself, your body, your intuitions, and feel okay releasing things that no longer serve you. Thoughts, habits, clutter, hockey jerseys, all of that. When it's okay to evolve out of who you used to be. It's okay to change your mind. Your mind is the best thing to change. Because if the way you're thinking isn't giving you the life you want, the feeling you want in your life, start up here and in here. And this is clutter. This is decluttering. It's decluttering. It's letting go of what you don't want anymore. I don't want to think that way anymore. I don't want to think that I am only lovable if I'm perfect. I don't want to think that I will not be loved if I make a mistake. I don't want to think that, I'm a total screw up and I'm not what my parents wanted, and if only I was different, they would love me. No. Fuck that. Shut the fuck up. You are awesome. You are awesome. You deserve love and you have love regardless of the stuff you have. When you can start to say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter my stuff. It doesn't matter this. I am lovable. I am lovable and capable. Did anybody ever do that thing? Again, notice these things they tried to teach us in the 50s or the 50s. I wasn't alive then. 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, like an FM radio commercial. I remember, earlier I was saying everyone makes mistakes. Why can't you? That was, what's his name? Big Bird on Sesame Street. Also, when I was in junior high, I remember this thing. It was like, I am lovable and capable. And so say to yourself, I am lovable and capable. Now, they tried to kind of arm us with this stuff from there. They were trying to teach us, but sometimes that stuff doesn't resonate until you realize that the opposite may be making you do things and act in a certain way. Fear makes you hang on to stuff. Love makes you not let go of everything, but let go of the stuff that you don't want anymore. The stuff that is not serving you. The clothes that don't fit. The, things that you bought that you don't like anymore. The stuff that you spent a lot of money on but just didn't work out. The, things that you bought because you saw, Ron Popeil, hawking on TV, or your Ginsu knives, that when you got it into your house, you're like, oh, this isn't working. Okay, this isn't working. The sooner you can, here's the deal, is you can hang out in a space of feeling frustrated with things and notice where things aren't working out. But the sooner you do something about that, you take an action in the right direction to course correct. Say, oh, guess what? I bought the wrong thing. What can I do to get the right thing? What can I do to get the destination that I want? You can take action to course correct. You can do something about this. Even if you don't think you can, I'm here to tell you can. I love the way I coach. I love helping people realize the power you have in you to create the world you want. And maybe the world is too big. Maybe just creating you feeling good in your home. Because when you feel good, you're going to do good. And it doesn't gatekeep. There is a ripple effect, like putting a pebble in the water. There is a ripple effect, a positive ripple effect. Because when you feel better, you're going to be nicer to your mate. You're going to be less quick to judge and snap. You're going to be letting somebody in traffic. You're going to smile at the cashier. You're going to be more understanding when things happen. This doesn't mean you become a doormat. No, if anything, trust me. I had a firsthand example of this. When you get used to getting what you want, and this isn't in a mean kind of greedy way, you will calmly hold firm to your convictions and stick with it until you get what you want. I did this last weekend when I had booked a hotel room that when they sent it, when we walked in, I'm like, this is not the room that I booked. And I wasn't pissed off because I knew just getting aggravated and showing up as a Karen was not going to get me the way I wanted. But I was polite and I was firm and I was giving them options. I got the room I wanted. I actually got a better room. I would have been happy with the room I wanted because it was the one I signed up for. You can change the things. Yeah, adjust your sails. There you go. Course correct, you get blown out of course. I don't sail, but I'm thinking of driving. You can readjust your steering. Steer in a better direction. Sin from Lynn, I love this. I emptied my closets and storage and FBCF picked up yesterday. Rock on. How does that feel? I hope that feels good. Because hanging on to stuff that makes you feel like crap is like, I remember hearing this on some, like a meditation app I would listen to during COVID. It's like holding on to a hot coal. It's just burning your hand. It's just making you feel hot. Let it go. Throw that hot coal off of the White Cliffs of Dover or the Cliffs of Moher. Okay? Feels great. That's why I show up in the decluttering space. It's not so your house looks good, it's so you feel good in your home. There we go. User 616440 scheduled a clothing donation. Pick up for Friday. 5 bags down. Lots more to go. Congratulate yourself on what you did do, regardless of the road ahead. Be psyched about what you've done right now to change the direction of the amount of stuff you have. Yep, stuff I wasn't using and duplicates of a lot of items. Yeah, and get curious so you don't repeat this again. Reflect on your past. Why did I have those duplicates? Maybe I couldn't find the original. Maybe I thought it was so good I was going to buy another thing. I had to stop myself from doing that recently. When I was in Vegas, I did a quick TikTok video about seeing your things in new light, and I literally saw some sandals that I had brought with me that I'm used to just walking around my house in. Then when I saw them in the bright light of Vegas, I was like, "Oh, these look kind of ratty." Okay, yeah, retail therapy for years. Notice that. We joke about retail therapy, but it's a real thing. We buy things to make ourselves feel better. No judgment, but noticing that, you know? I recently, so I don't forget my story, is the sandals that looked crappy. I went and saw if I could buy a new pair because I really liked these sandals. They really kind of ticked all the boxes for me. When I saw they were still available, I almost bought 2 pair. What if they're not available again when I need them? And then I said, you know what? I'm going to trust that I'm going to buy 1 pair, because sometimes when you buy something and then it hangs out, then you don't use it, and then like the glue dries up and things like that. I'm going to trust that when this next new pair of sandals wears out, that I will be able to get them again, or another pair that's even better. Notice when you catch yourself buying multiples, saying, do I need all this? Or am I coming from a hoarder fear of lack? And then trust that everything will be okay in the future. Okay? Yeah. Cleaning. I love hearing this. Strong Silver Soul sister. Cleaning is taking a fraction of the time it used to when I had more stuff. Yeah. I hate cleaning the house. I don't hate it. It doesn't even deserve hate. That was like a very sloppy way of me doing that. I wasn't being mindful of my words, and I used the ones that kind of first came out. I'm going to course correct that. I would rather do other things with my time than to clean my house. When I have minutes, I can spend them cleaning. Sure, I can also spend them farting around on TikTok. But it's easier for me to clean. Our house takes very little time to clean now that we are decluttered. And we have developed new habits to keep us decluttered. Because we used to let things pile up. Oh my God, my husband, when we first met, I remember him talking about trying to clean things up in his kind of basement, apartment, studio, music thing when I would come down the beach to visit him. And it was that whole like piling up of stuff. And then he got an asthma attack and then all this crazy stuff. Now, is his studio in our current house more cluttered than mine? Yeah. We're 2 different people. We have 2 different things. But the spaces in our house, the communal spaces, they are like always pretty much tidy. A little bit here, a little bit there because we live here. It's so much easier to clean your house, people, if you're decluttered. You save money when you declutter because you're not buying repeats. You're not spending money on storage units. I saw an ad for a storage unit. Oh my God, I get so aggravated with those people. Talk about the opposite. About, and this is all my stuff and I want to keep things good. So I just pay somebody every month to hold my stuff. Now, trust me, I've lived in a place where I did need to spend money on a storage unit because I was working at a place where I was living with roommates and I had a couch. I wanted the couch and I knew I was living there temporarily. Storage should be temporary. Paid storage is temporary. Okay? Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I get what you mean because you can do other stuff instead. Doing what you want. This is what I think, and maybe this will hit it with you. I think being rich in the world, to me, is being able to do what you want, when you want, whether you want to do it or not, for how long you want, and being in charge of that, being in control of your time, and being in control of your decisions about what you do, if you do it, and when you do it. To me, that is gold. I don't need a yacht. I want time spent the way I want to do stuff. And yeah, if I want to crash on this aero bed here because I'm sick in my room and I'm trying to isolate myself from my husband and I want to scroll on TikTok, I'm going to do that knowing that everything will be okay, even if I take time for myself to just fart around. Now, I say this in a decluttering way is because I have decided that one of the things I can do to help me live the life I want is having less stuff to take care of. It is really interesting to me to allow myself the permission. I give myself the permission when I am traveling to buy anything I want. I go and look at stuff. I do. But I come back with very little in the way of tangible items because I'm at the point in my life where I have too much anyway. And then I have a little bit of too much, but I am so close to my just right point. That's what I want you to think of. Now, I've only got like 3 or 4 minutes right here, but what I want to suggest to you is to think about Lack is one thing. Seriously being hungry and not having anything is one thing. We all started out in our teens and 20s and our earlier years with nothing. Then we would buy things to furnish our homes, to fill up the rooms we had. Then we got used to that whole corporate ladder of money equals I get to buy all the things. And maybe you were making up for lost time. Maybe you never got the chance to buy the stuff you wanted when you were then. So now you have control over your money and how you spend it and you buy things. Or maybe you're trying to make yourself feel better. So you buy things. Maybe you go and you don't know what to do with your life. So you go and you enjoy thrifting. So you go and collect things. But at a certain point, when you keep on adding and adding and adding and adding, you get to be too much. Too much. What I want you to know is there's a middle ground between too much and nothing. And that is what I call, in the kind of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, just right. You have a just right point in your body where when you look around your house, this feels not too little, not too much, just right. Where you don't feel like you're drowning and suffocating and overwhelmed. Where you look around and you say, oh, this feels good. This feels good. Anything less, might be a little bit hinky. Anything more, yeah, now I'm feeling like a little too cluttered. You're just right. Notice if you're not feeling just right, it's okay. You've got just a little bit under too much. And you can slowly kind of weed out the stuff that doesn't do it anymore. And every time you do that, there's less kind of pressuring you in there. You can breathe better in a house that's not cluttered. You can think better in a house that's not cluttered. You can, because it's less visually stimulating. There's not so many messages going to your body. Okay? Decluttering, the only reason I do this is to help you, because I know what it's like to feel crappy. And I know what it's like to be freaking out saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. I'm looking for answers. I love the fact that I can show up on the other side now to say, I have some answers that worked for me. I love to turn around and help you with it. This is what worked for me and it's working for my clients. I show up to just show you there's another way of thinking and feeling about clutter so you can do something about it. Notice what you're doing. You know, Christine says, wash the dishes and cleaned while listening today. Thank you. Taking the time you have on the planet to make your home the way you want it is a way of practicing making the life you want. Okay? Okay. Now I have to sign off because I'm going to have a coughing fit and then I go into coaching. What I will say is this. If you like what you're hearing, if this is helping you, if it's feeling good, show up again. I do TikTok lives pretty much every day. And if you want to find out when the next one is, get on my mailing list. It's wicked easy. DestinationDeclutter.com/join, and you will find out when my next TikTok live is. I got to look myself to see when it is. Okay, there's one tomorrow. And here, I'm going to be a little sneaky weaky. And I'm going to be like, you don't know when it is, but I do. And if you're on the mailing list, you know. And if you want to know, sign up for the mailing list, okay? All right, you guys. I'm going to go have a coughing fit. Always a pleasure to hang out with you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share what's in me. I'm really hoping it helps. Let it sink in and just know that you can do something to change what is not working for you, okay? Thank you very much, you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.